yeah, he now started a company called Marketer Hire that's like freelance marketing talent. It's pretty cool. Check it out.
Josh and I are going to be reaching out to them very soon.
PowerPoints, power lunches, conference calls, reply to all, endless meetings, constant check-ins, and so much wasted time. Are you sick of the BS? So are we. It's time to take our time back, rework the way we work, and make every call a call to action. This is a podcast for people who want to stop talking and really start connecting. This is After 12.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to After 12, 12 for 12's original podcast series that explores cool companies, brands, messages, and makers, and what compels us to take notice and become fans. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, midwife, life partner, and midlife crisis, Josh Rush. Josh, give a wave. We've got, he's like, hi, I need a Xanax. We've got a great show for you today, guys. I'm not even kidding. As the CEO and founder of Threadless, a multi-million-dollar t-shirt company built on a multi-million member community of artists, Jake Nickel has been living a very simple slogan since starting the brand in 2000. These three words are even more important today, people in quarantine land. Make great together. Internet, please join me in welcoming Jake Nickel to After 12. Jake, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. How are you guys?
Good. How are you doing in these weird days of global pandemic?
1 hour at a time.
How many hours has it been?
I have no idea.
Exactly. Well, like I'm sure, like everybody on Earth, your plans were deeply uprooted, abruptly so. What were you guys working on when the pandemic hit Chicago there?
I mean, we have three main lines of business. We sell a lot of product into offline retail. We sell a lot of stuff on Threadless.com. And then we also offer a platform for artists to sell under their own brand. And I mean, we were really killing it on all three accounts, and all three of those businesses have just been affected in different ways. You know, I mean, offline retail is gone.
Yeah.
That part of our business is just dried up. And then the e-commerce business for like the first few weeks kind of fell off a bit. And then the artist shop side, which is the platform for artists, that's been actually hanging in there pretty well. But yeah, the last few weeks, it's changed a lot.
Well, it's interesting too, because when we came to your warehouse back in 2016 and filmed at the headquarters, you know, you guys had just launched artist shops, and
right.
It was kind of your, you know, the side venture pivot. And it's nice to see that you had done that, being that it's now like your revenue engine. That's great. How I mean, like, I guess, how gradual did this thing happen in terms of the retail stores? Did they kind of shutter over a few weeks, or was it just like that hard shutdown in Chicago and everything was done? Well,
it did. I think everybody kind of went over a few weeks, but the way it affected us is that they just stopped writing POs, so there's no more production. Like, we haven't actually produced a t-shirt for an order in like 2 months or so for retail.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I guess from a retailer perspective, once they open back up too, they're still going to have all the inventory that we sold to them months ago. So it could be quite some time that we actually start seeing an income there again.
And just give us an idea too. I mean, when we saw you guys back in 16, 17, your artist community was like 1 million. What are you guys now in terms of the Threadless community roughly?
I mean, customer-wise, we've sold t-shirts to maybe 5 million or so people on our website, and then that's not including offline. On the artist side, we have, I think, about 300,000 artists that are using our shops platform, and we've had something like 400,000 or 500,000 artists submit designs to our design challenges on Threadless.
Gotcha.
Do you think this is something that comes up as we're looking at sort of where we go from here, kind of post pandemic? And I was reading an article in the Wall Street Journal this morning. It was about Intel, or I think it's Intel. How to use this kind of pandemic driven paranoia to continue to drive forward. Like we've done so much in the last 6 weeks. Like, it's like, oh my God, if we would have just been working this fast, this hard, like making decisions, going for the last year, where would we be? And so,
Right.
and part of that is like, we realize, well, we don't need these certain things to do what we thought we needed to do. So from like an artist perspective, I see this being as an opportunity for people to get more direct to artists. Maybe like the different channel relationships that would bring people into an artist relationship. Maybe there's fewer barriers now. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely created like pure focus on what we should be doing right now. And we had been dabbling about like pulling back on some things that weren't working, but second this hit, it was just like, yeah, we're not doing those anymore.
We're going to optimize efficiencies right now.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, we've all been remote, the whole company, and then we've like changed responsibility, like people's roles. We haven't had to let anybody go, which is great.
That's awesome.
But we have changed roles. Like a lot of our customer service team is now setting up shops for free for small businesses, like bars, coffee shops, gyms. We started this program where they can all use our platform to sell merch while their places are closed. And our team is actually setting those up for them.
That's great. Well, I can imagine too, the artists themselves have more time to create different designs, right? I mean, people are all kind of in the same wait and see kind of mentality right now.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we did right away is we started paying artists more. We actually lowered our base costs so that they would get paid up to 60% more for every unit sold. And we did that because we saw that a lot of artists in our community are working jobs that are being affected. They're losing their jobs. Or even if they are full-time artists, they're not really getting the work right now. People aren't spending on that sort of thing at this time. So we thought we could be helpful. And yeah, a lot of our artists have like channeled their energy towards making a store of their own, and setting up a merch store.
Nice.
That's
How
so
did you I mean, the big word these days is pivot. It's almost as ubiquitous as transform was a couple years ago. How did you guys make the pivot to making masks? And how did you find the great cause that you have in MedShare?
Well, so what happened, right, there's a moment I can remember exactly when kind of maybe a week or two into us being remote working, maybe it was even the first week, where there was a quote going around on social media about how Mr. Rogers said that his mom would say, like, in times of crisis that you should look for the helpers. And
Yes.
I just was like, holy shit, I need to know. I know exactly what I need to do. And we just looked anywhere we could that our business could actually be useful in this scenario to people who really need the help. And so, first it was the paying the artists more, helping small businesses set up shops. And then with masks, we actually were not really keen on the idea of launching a mask because in the early days, it was a lot of, there was a lot of talk about not buying masks, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the medical workers need the masks, so don't buy masks.
Yeah.
And that was mostly geared at medical grade masks. And then it was a few weeks ago that the CDC released the guidelines for the public to be wearing cloth masks,
Right.
non-medical grade cloth masks. And, they actually said, don't buy the medical grade masks, buy non-medical grade cloth masks. And at
We
that point,
started
we were
making
like,
the latex masks, so that's next.
I suggested we do this interview with masks on, but Adam.
oh yeah, I have mine right here.
Nice.
But yeah, we were like, well, if we're going to do this, we don't want to really, profit off of it. We want it to be helpful. So we found a supplier. Finding the supplier was actually a pretty difficult part of the process because there's a lot of people that are trying to make masks right now, and it's difficult to find that. But we wanted to make sure that every mask we did sell helped get PPE to frontline workers or hospital workers. And MedShare, who we're donating the proceeds to for the masks, is a company that we've been working with actually for years. There's this guy, Colin Donnell, who's an actor he was an actor on Chicago Med.
Okay.
And we were doing merch for him, and all of his proceeds were going to MedShare. With the doctor tie, his tagline was, "I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV." And
He had worked with a lot of the ladies.
right. So he had all his proceeds going to MedShare, and we're familiar with the organization, and they're exactly I mean, they supply medical equipment globally, not just the US, which was important to us too, because our community's everywhere. And we wanted to find something that, in the countries that were being affected the most and really needed the equipment, they could get it to them. So we went with MedShare.
Now, are the masks, are you still tapping the artist community? So they're like, really design forward, design driven?
Yeah, the masks. At first, we were thinking about just launching a blank cloth mask, because a lot of the t-shirt suppliers that we work with are making masks now, and they have blank masks. But then we found a supplier. We actually launched one mask, and then the supplier kind of wasn't able to keep up, so we moved to a different supplier within 24 hours. But yeah, they're
I imagine they're very much in demand, right? It's like
Well, have you seen a reduction in demand, or is it steady or growing?
It's still extremely strong. We've purposefully reduced the demand by not really promoting it much because we're trying to keep our capacity up, but things are flowing pretty well right now. I think it's like 10-15 day.
How many various options do you have now? Like how many masks have you been cutting?
We only have one mask option. It's kind of like this. It has this black trim on the outside, but we are exploring, even like neck gaiters or bandanas and different sizes is important, stuff like that.
And then how many patterns have you printed on that one style of mask?
Oh man, there must be like maybe 100,000 designs to choose from. Everyone is made to order.
Wow. Okay.
So
we get it a 12 for 12 on like right here.
Yes. Yeah. I think we will make that order today.
Right on.
Well, I mean, you guys are kind of uniquely positioned in the sense that you are already on demand printing with your t-shirts too, right? I mean, so now everything is made to order. Do you have some redundancies in your suppliers? So there's several different.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we built the supplier network. We probably ship from maybe 30, 40 locations right now. And we try to ship closest to the customer as we can, to reduce the delivery
carbon
time,
footprint,
shipping.
The time. Yeah.
What's nice about on demand, is you're not making inventory unless you've already sold it. So it's, very environmentally friendly.
Yeah, and that kind of, again, I think you made that shift back in 16, 17 where you went to on demand with everything?
Yeah, about then.
Not in the year 16, 17, but.
Welcome to the future of 12 for 12.
BC.
Far after 12. So tell us about Bucket Feet. So because we didn't feature Bucket Feet on the show. You guys acquired Bucket Feet, 2017? Yeah,
2017. And Bucket Feet is crazy because, when we acquired them, they had just switched to an on-demand model where every shoe is made to order. And there's different ways that you can like print on a shoe. A lot of places they buy like blank shoes and then they use this vacuum sublimation printing. And the quality is not great because you end up with kind of these white striation marks kind of where the seams are. Mm-hmm. But our shoes are actually like printed and then put together after they've been printed, so the quality is insane. But the Bucket Feet's been around. I think they started 2012-ish or so, and for a while we were actually in the same building. And the founder and I, we know each other pretty well, and we've kind of mentored each other over the years. And he now started a company called Marketer Hire that's like freelance marketing talent. It's pretty cool. Check it out.
Josh and I are going to be reaching out to them very soon.
We'll work for marketing. Yes.
So how is Bucket Feet doing in the wake of this pandemic?
Well, one of the things we did is we actually shut down the bucketfeet.com website right when, like maybe 2 weeks after the pandemic, because it was a whole separate project for us. We have different launch schedules, different promotions that are running, different like social media accounts. And what we ended up doing is combining them. So right now, if you go to bucketfeet.com, there's a section within threadless.com where you buy the Bucket Feet product. And we were able to merge the social accounts and stuff, which allowed us to like refocus our resources, on the stuff that's really working best.
Wow.
That's an interesting the last point, it's as it relates to your kind of pivot and where you guys decided to divest of certain things and continue to push other things. Coming out of this, so like post COVID, what do you see as, the best opportunity to go forward fastest, versus what do you think the long-term outlook is, for all of the different things you guys are involved with?
Man, I'm right now, I can't pretend to say what it is, but
tell us, Jake. Tell us what you know.
Some of my guesses would be, I do think face masks are going to be a part of our culture for quite some time. I mean, just looking at the Illinois reopening plan, it's like a 5-phase plan that's probably going to go for like the next 2 years. And phase 4 still involves wearing face masks when you go out.
Yeah.
So I think that we have a lot of work still to do there. I mean, we launched them and we're donating a lot, but I think, new silhouettes and finding how to get the price in a better place and stuff is going to be a lot of.
Yeah, and I haven't been to Chicago since I think the last trip I took back to Chicago was right before they shut everything down, and we stopped traveling. But when you're out and about, I mean, are people pretty much wearing face masks all the time? Is it like 80-20?
I'd say it's like 60-40 or 40% are wearing the masks.
Ah, okay.
I mean, when I'm at that grocery store, 100%.
Yeah.
But when you're walking on the sidewalk, not.
And how many of those people would you say are like fashion forward with their mask game?
It's probably starting to change.
That's a good question.
I would.
There's a lot of bad masks out there. It'll step up your mask.
I mean, I was at the grocery store this morning, and the people working there, the people wearing masks, I'd say it was mostly like homemade, not a lot of like disposable medical grade masks. It's mostly, stuff that a lot of people were just wearing scarves or like neck gaiters from winter kind of things like that.
Adam's been wearing a brown paper bag over his head.
I've been wearing the face mask from Sub-Zero of Mortal Kombat.
Oh, nice.
No,
that's awesome.
It's funny because my son was like, everyone's a ninja now. Like, yeah, they are ninjas.
So Josh Sue was the actor who played Sub-Zero in Mortal Kombat.
Oh,
and he came to our office the other day, gave a talk. He just did a documentary called Insert Coin.
Wow.
It's funny that you mentioned that.
That's hysterical. So now you have to do a Sub-Zero mask. I think you owe it to him.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, on that note, like, okay, Josh's question, what do you think the future of retail is? Like, what do you think? I guess just sector by sector, what do you think is going to happen to brick and mortar if everybody is, kind of tenuous in terms of they have to wear a mask, they're wearing gloves, or, right now, 2/3 of the new infections are people that say they're getting it from transit, either, subway or public transportation, or going to the grocery store. And to me, like, when did the grocery store become the most dangerous place in your neighborhood?
Right.
It's like,
it's wild. I mean, I think you'll probably see a lot of, it'll be a slow rolling reopening of, restaurants where you're 6 feet apart, it's only half full. I think you'll see a lot more like ordering online and then picking up from the store, or picking up from the restaurant.
Well, and that's what they say too. Like even restaurants have become like local, small neighborhood grocery stores. And I would say that as far as that goes, I mean, they could be local retailers of anything. Just as everybody's trying to scramble to figure out how to stay afloat or how to get ahead. I think the rethinking retail is meaning to rethink everything that we know about it, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, there's retailers that we work with that have said that they may not even try to reopen their stores and they're just going to focus on e-commerce going forward.
Wow.
And
that's huge.
Yeah. I mean, malls, we work with a lot of mall stores, and actually some mall stores are starting to open up as of last week. And I saw, in different areas in Texas and stuff like that, which I don't think is a great idea right now.
The United States of America.
Yeah.
We'll edit that out for all of the folks at home who hate me anyway. I mean, I feel like, there's two sides of this argument, right? And Josh and I got into this a couple weeks ago. I mean, there's the one side where you look at what Sweden is doing, and it's this inoculation by mass infection, by a chickenpox party with this virus. The pathogen is in the system of every man, woman, and child. You build immunity, and your immune system is really what should come to the fore right now. And I totally agree with that. But on the other side, when a small percent of the population has an extremely high morbidity or mortality rate with regard to the pathogen, you're just like, is it worth the tens of thousands of people who are inevitably going to die in order to reach herd immunity? And I mean, the fact that that's what politicians are rolling the bones on, to me, is, I mean, where are we as a species? It's a big question. And
very
and a lot of it is about
fragile.
The point of the flattening of the curve, right, is to keep the hospitals from being overrun, because maybe we won't lose that many people if they have a chance to get to an ICU.
Yeah.
Well, at least McCormick Place never became a full-on, ICU. I mean, there are some things that I think, I guess are positive too, where it's like, it could have been a lot worse, and maybe it will be, and get to that point. But I saw the other day that they were clearing out McCormick and talking about trying to hold the first events there in July, or at least being ready to hold events there in July, which is like, I'll believe when I see it, but at least it's not a full-blown hospital, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's, Is that because we didn't need it, or is it because we did the right thing with, people were staying at home?
We'll find out in the next 60 days, I guess.
With every threadless mask, you get a antibody test.
Right.
Something like, if you could, have like an antibody test that in 2 minutes told you that you had already succumbed and you're immune to it. Think about the way people would operate. It's funny to think of like prevention instead of taking a more offensive stance, where it's like, okay, we're going to test. It's amazing too, to me, to see like how it's affected not just one sector, but kind of every sector of industry right now. And the companies that are doing well are the packaged goods, the food companies, the companies that deliver food or services. And it's just such a bizarre time in history when you're like, the number one seller is the face mask or hand sanitizer or Clorox wipe or toilet paper.
Yeah.
So on that note, have any of your artists been making designs that are kind of like, highlighting or echoing the zeitgeist of this weird time in history?
Yeah, there's a ton of designs that are just like, stay away from me, or if you can read this, you are too close. Or,
Right.
That's right.
The one I have, so it's from my favorite webcomic, and it just says, "Oh no."
But there's a lot. Are those just single ply too?
No, they're 2-ply. They're
2-ply.
Yeah, 2 layers.
But like, what?
Can you put a carbon filter, like a?
We don't have a pouch for a filter. No,
Okay.
Yeah.
But I bet you're working on one.
Yeah. That's another thing where early on, we didn't want to encourage that because we didn't want people buying that product that hospital workers need. But I've heard you can put like a coffee filter in there and it works well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I just put fear in mine. I don't go outside. It works great.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So in the wake of this tragedy, there have been many, many silver linings. The environment, families have gotten closer. Life has kind of gotten slower. I've been nicer to my kids, I think. Right, guys? For the most part. How about for you guys? What's going on with you personally, Jake, and you and Shandi and the family? What kind of silver linings have you noticed during this time?
I feel pretty lucky that my family's been staying safe and healthy. We had a little bit of a scare where we were getting sick early on, and it was like, oh, how can we go get a test? And my wife was able to get tested eventually, and we didn't have it, which was great, but that was a little scary for a moment there. Definitely having the kids at home doing remote learning has its pros and cons, It's harder to really get like heads down time working for an extended period of time, but I feel lucky that my kids are 10 and 12, which is like, I mean, they're pretty independent. They don't require a lot of, hands-on interaction to do their schooling and stuff.
How about your energy level at home? Do you find like this? I mean, if I were to say, have you been stressed? I know the answer. It's just like, how do you manage the stress and not let that kind of creep its way into your home and your office? And
I think I have been channeling a lot of that energy into my work, trying to like dive in, and I've been trying to write a lot more about the things that are happening around. I had this idea to write a book like years ago that was around I did this TED Talk called Never Stop Making, and it was just a bunch of different reasons about why making things is so important. And I wanted to turn that into a book where each chapter is about a different topic related to making. And now I'm turning that into a newsletter. So
that's awesome.
I'm planning to send out my first one today.
Awesome.
Well, you once said that I think when we on the episode we feature you talked about fear, and for you it was always the fear of not going for something, the fear of not doing it, and it sounds like the book has a lot to do with that as well. I'm just curious what role fear plays for you right now.
Yeah, I feel like when you're scared of something, you kind of hesitate, and then if you hesitate, then you're not going to do that thing, right? And so I think it really helps you, or it prevents you from getting over that hump that you need to get through.
Right.
But sometimes I'll use, like, I remember one of the first examples I could think of is like when I had this idea for designers to create t-shirts, I posted a thread on this forum saying that I'm going to do it, even though I had no idea how I was going to do it. But I had this fear of like letting those people down that actually drove me to do it because I made a promise that I was going to.
You should
so maybe
fear that they blame you for the 20-year anniversary of Threadless ending in pandemic.
Yeah. I flipped my fears to motivate me.
Right.
Yes.
I feel the same way. Yeah. And in these last, couple of months, and Adam and I always joke, it's like, man, I've never worked twice as hard for half as much. And it's okay. I mean, that's the thing we find with this. It's like, I thought, you're scared, you don't know what it's going to be. And then you realize that everything's okay still. Just got to, put in the work.
Well, I mean, what is the most resilient parasite? Bacteria, a virus, an intestinal worm, an idea. Resilient, highly contagious. Once an idea has taken hold of the brain, it's almost impossible to eradicate. An idea that is fully formed, fully understood, that sticks right there somewhere. That's Christopher Nolan from Inception. And I think of that, you had an idea, you made this idea in 2000 come to reality. I mean, it's amazing what you can do. I don't worry about the virus or getting sick or the resiliency of the human spirit. I think it's the process, just getting through and realizing what matters, and I think that's the most.
That's a hug. Let's bring it in and hug it out. Let's do a virtual hug. Not kiss.
I miss hugging, man.
Oh.
That making ideas happen is the hard part, right? It's easy to come up with them, but actually getting them out there it can be kind of overwhelming sometimes.
That's a good promotion for 12 for 12. We got to keep getting.
We
promised we had watchers. There's people watching this.
Well, Jake, I mean, you're doing it, and it's amazing. 20 years after you started, pandemic be damned. It's always great catching up with you and talking with you, and I can't wait to see where you guys go from here. I know, that no bug is gonna bug you, especially with your shirt. What does your shirt say? Let everyone see.
Yeah, no worries.
Who, me? Thanks for being on the show, and for all of you at After 12 Internet Land. Join us next time and click to subscribe. See you soon.